You know, anybody that spends any time in the woods around here has an experience, at least one, that they talk about. Now that I do the investigating, they know that I do that. Some people come forward and be like, oh yeah, I have something that happened to me that I never told anybody about. I had a friend who was out parking with a girl and had two red eyes that he caught staring at him.
I just saw something moving and running over there. It was breaking branches, moving really quick. It just ran across through the trees. It was bipedal.
The wild is a refuge by day, but after darkness falls, it becomes something else entirely. Strange movements and unseen watchers transformed ordinary hikes into moments of pure terror. The line between reality and legend vanishes, and the unknown waits silently, watching every move. Let's step into the darkness and uncover what really lurks beyond the light, with something massive, unseen, and impossible to explain. Stories that will make you question every shadow and sound in the woods. Realize TV is all about strange cryptid sightings from around the world. The footage comes from a trail camera set up deep in the woods for simple wildlife monitoring, so nothing about it is staged. When the clip begins, it honestly feels like any normal nature recording. A few elk are calmly moving through the area, completely relaxed in their surroundings. If you were watching this without context, you would probably assume it was just another peaceful forest moment. As the clip continues though, your attention naturally starts to wander beyond the elk and a little deeper into the background. Nothing about it feels loud or sudden, and the animals don't react in a way that clearly tells you something's wrong. It's just this quiet presence that slowly starts to stand out, and the longer you watch, the harder it becomes to ignore. I won't spell it out too early because this is one of those clips where it's better if you notice it for yourself. Just keep your eyes moving across the entire frame instead of staying locked on the elk in front. The moment is easy to miss if you aren't paying attention. What makes this footage so interesting isn't chaos or action. It's the way something in the background seems carefully positioned, almost like it's aware of where it stands. At one point, there's this tiny little movement, and honestly, it almost feels on purpose. It's small, but that's the part that gets everyone talking. The elk remain calm, the forest stays quiet, and the camera continues recording without interruption, which somehow makes the background feel even more noticeable. People have shared all kinds of thoughts about what they think they're seeing, and that's honestly what makes trail camera footage so interesting. It catches real, unscripted moments and just leaves the rest up to us to figure out. So as you watch this one, take your time with it. Let the clip unfold naturally, and then tell me what stands out to you. Meet Mike Wanderer, the explorer behind the YouTube channel Mike Wanderer. His adventures are a window into the wild, following solo backpacking trips and remote mountain explorations, often guided by his curiosity and love for the unknown. To his viewers, he shares his genuine passion for discovering hidden trails and untouched landscapes. But on a trip to what he thought was a familiar stretch near June Lake, Mike would find that even well-trodden paths can conceal secrets. Arriving at his planned campsite nestled in the higher reaches of the mountain, he set out to prepare a fire and settle in, unaware that this night would be far from ordinary.
I'm now heading up to June Lake, where I'm going to backpack, but it is further up the mountain. And I was recommended to check out this site by researcher Mark Marcel, otherwise known as the Ape Canyon guy, which, by the way, Ape Canyon, it's only a few miles from here.
High on the mountainside, an unusual sight waits. A tree turned upside down, roots clawing at the sky. Mike had been warned about it by a local hiker, who whispered of its strange history. Some say it simply fell, but the forest seems to tell a different story. Every shadow feels alive, every whisper of wind suspicious. As he finishes pitching his tent, the woods seem to lean in closer, as if watching, waiting, and hiding secrets he's not yet ready to see.
That right there is an upside down tree. The ranger told me about it. The roots are in the air, and the theory is that it fell off the side here and landed. However, this is as squatchy gets. All right, got the tent here all set up.
Mike crouches low, scanning the forest floor. Enormous impressions stretch out before him, far larger than any deer or elk he's seen. He places his size, just to gauge the scale, but the gaps between prints are strange. Too long, too deliberate. Could it be an oversized animal? Maybe. But a small, uneasy voice whispers, "Something else moved here. Something no one can easily explain." The woods feel heavier now, as if every shadow is watching him, testing how close he dares to get.
Okay, these are very large impressions, especially that one back there. Here's my boot, that's size 13. Maybe that's a couple animal tracks stacked on top of each other. The next step looks to be down here. I mean, that might be elk that slipped. It's just a really big impression and a big distance in between these tracks.
The structures stand out, rare and unsettling, especially this far north, where the wilderness grows thicker and quieter. Yet even without them, the land speaks for itself. This is an untouched country, rich with food, shelter, and secrecy. Mike recognizes the pattern. Any environment capable of sustaining powerful apex animals could just as easily hide something far more intelligent. The same resources, the same cover. As the forest closes in around him, one thought becomes difficult to dismiss. This place feels designed for something that doesn't want to be found.
These are definitely odd to see. And man, you really see them up here north in Nordegg. But even if these structures weren't here, this feels like great Bigfoot habitat. I mean, if you have an ecosystem and a habitat that's suitable for a grizzly bear, it's definitely suitable for a Bigfoot. They could eat the same things.
The sound cuts through the silence without warning, a single deep call echoing from the darkness. It isn't quite an owl, and it doesn't match a wolf either. Just one clear, deliberate vocalization, rising and fading in the same direction, listening for a follow-up that never comes. The stillness that follows feels heavier than the sound itself. Whatever made that call didn't repeat it, and that uncertainty is what unsettles him most.
I just heard what sounded like a single solitary whoop. Slightly different than an owl. If it was an owl, it was one single whoop. I don't want to make the sound right now. It was like, it sounded almost between like an owl and a wolf, but just one single solid sound in this direction.
Was that lone call nothing more than an animal passing through, or a warning from something that knew Mike was there? On Small Town Monsters, investigators explore tales that start ordinary and spiral into the unexplainable. Chris Spencer and his son camped alone at Skamania County Campground during spring break. By day, they found twisted maple vines, broken branches, and a massive impression in the ground.
First people in, and only people in the campground, and we found a vine maple that was limb twist broke, an 18 by 9 inch impression in the ground. We found other branches snapped off of fir trees 12 feet up. And that night, and we thought, oh, cool, you know, didn't think
But that night, terror struck. Something entered their campsite and forcefully grabbed their tent. What happened remains a mystery, leaving them with a chilling story no one can fully explain. Alone in the night, Chris heard movement circling the campground, two unseen presences testing him while his children slept.
Was in the campground. There's at least two moving back and forth around the camp. I think they were just messing with us, but around 4 a.m, wow, it was like a rock on a tree, knock. Everything went quiet. I got out of the tent and built up a fire and waited for my kid to get up. After that, that's when I decided to start doing stuff like that.
Frozen inside the tent, weapon across his chest, he couldn't move. A sharp knock rang through the trees, then silence. When he finally emerged, he built a fire and waited. That night changed everything. Chris knew he had to find answers. John Sheridan, a seasoned investigator, has spent years listening to those who've encountered the unexplained. Some describe distant figures, calm and almost harmless, as if the forest itself is watching.
It's a difficult question because it depends. You know, I've heard so many different encounters and I've talked to so many different people. There's some things that really stand out, that you've seen. You know, they've seen a figure in the distance, right? Or it seemed friendly, and they didn't seem like it was aggressive or there was any concern. They didn't have any fear. No feeling of dread or anything like that. But then there's some times where they're being pelted with rocks.
Others share darker tales. Rocks thrown from nowhere, invisible forces stalking them, or strange disturbances at home. For Sheridan, each story unveils a hidden world where moments of calm can suddenly turn into chilling menace. Chris Brinker, known for investigating the unexplained, often hears stories from people who never thought they'd have one to share. Anyone spending time in these woods seems to have at least one tale worth telling. Even longtime friends now come forward with experiences they kept secret.
I'm usually, because when I first started, I had to really learn all the other animals too, so I listened while I looked, but most of the target subject vocalizations, they fall in a certain hertz range, and a lot of times they'll look similar to human vocalizations, and so I look at a narrow hertz range, and when I see something that doesn't match up with the known animals, then I stop and I look at it, because I look at it visually just like David does. And it's something over time. I've been doing it since 2015. It's 2021 now.
One recalled parking with a girl when two glowing red eyes stared from the trees, vanishing as mysteriously as they appeared.
I've had multiple friends at work, talk about different situations. It seems like, anybody that spends any time in the woods around here has an experience, at least one, that they talk about. People that, you never would have thought, and you mentioned that now that I do the investigating and they know that I do that, some people come forward and be like, oh yeah, I have something that happened to me that I never told anybody about. I had a friend who was out parking with a girl and had two red eyes that he caught staring at him from in the trees that just disappeared,
For Brinker, these moments show just how thin the line is between ordinary and the inexplicable. As night fell, Rebecca Slick and her group settled into sleeping bags, chatter fading. Suddenly, a tree crashed down. It wasn't just a simple camping trip anymore. With no wind to explain the fall, Rebecca realized something unnatural might be nearby.
Bed, we're all in our sleeping bags, and all of a sudden the chatter of us starting to die down to go to bed is broken by this tree fall. That changed the game, because it went from just, okay, we're gonna just be out here camping, to, oh my goodness, there's no wind. It's possible that this could be natural.
In an instant, a peaceful night in the woods became unsettling, a possible creature lurking just beyond sight. Jody Fiaganes recounted the terrifying experience his mother endured, a presence more than a shape, massive and dark, filling the space around her vehicle. It struck suddenly, a violent impact on the front of the car, a jolt along the side, and a force that touched her hair, snapping her head back.
have others that we think of as being very passive. But as to what's creating those situations, what's causing those reports to manifest in the way they do, I don't know that there's any conclusive answer to that, at least at this point. We do tend to see, at least in most places, that sightings spike during the times of the year that people are outdoors, which makes sense. But as far as what time of the year, what location, what climate, if that makes them more aggressive, less aggressive, you do hear quite a few stories coming out of Florida, the skunk ape, sometimes Louisiana, the Honey Island area.
The smell alone suggested it was no ordinary animal. Even without a clear view, its closeness made it undeniable. She had come face to face with something extraordinary. His mother wasn't afraid. She believed the contact wasn't an attack, just curiosity. That single mysterious touch sparked a question haunting Jody.
Just given the behaviors and the things we're talking about, they seem to be pretty consistent and they're reported. Ape Canyon, if we are to believe the story of the miners, that was done as a sort of aggressive response to being shot at, or there was a curiosity factor with if the cabin was actually there. When the cabin was built, there seemed to be encounters with these creatures and the miners started shooting at them. And if we're to believe that story, maybe that tells us that they were curious, what are people doing in this really hard to reach place? And then it turned into aggressive behavior. So that was, I think, situational again.
What was out there? Watching, testing, trying to understand them. For him, proving her right became more than theory. It became a challenge to confront the unknown. The team from YouTube channel Bigfoot Society entered Oregon's forested mountain roads, expecting a slow start to festival week, but activity appeared almost immediately. The area Ronnie and Dwayne call her spot stretched all the way to the creek, a place where they believe a dominant female Bigfoot regularly moves. Within minutes, they showed scuffed hillsides, strange impressions, and rocks placed deliberately on stumps.
I know it's been there for quite a while since, then, but it just doesn't make no sense to me at all. But then, I got to looking and it almost looks like, they were like using that rock to hit this rock or something.
Right.
But I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, trying to figure it out.
This wasn't new to the locals. They'd been hearing vocalizations, tree breaks, and monkey chatter here for years.
It wasn't actually, below the other one. It was just further back down the hill further, so it looked like it was, eyes lower to the ground. And then, so he went further sideways, and then looked back, and then he seen the third one also. But they're it's like a frequent area.
This is interesting right here.
And
I don't know if that just fell apart or is that a normal occurrence? Or if it's burned, that it'll fall apart like that?
sometimes.
Yeah.
One of the first striking finds was a set of fresh footprints, deep heel marks, clear toe shapes, and tracks measuring around 18 inches. Beside them lay another, wide, heavy, and unmistakably shaped like a bare human foot, but far too large.
My daughter found the one and then just found another one by the stump, and they were both the same footprint. Sir, okay, look at this one. Toe.
Oh, wow.
Look at that. Look how big that is.
Yeah, careful.
No, I'm not.
I don't think they're probably not gonna cast it though, right?
But they just put this here.
Yeah, they put it around it, okay.
The team inspected impressions across the hillside, seeing old tracks, new tracks, and subtle changes in the earth indicating movement they had missed. As they climbed toward the sighting area, they found twisted off trees, not snapped by wind, but torqued deliberately.
I'm gonna back up a little bit. So you have the left tree that's going to the left, and then you have this right tree that's going to the right, but then look right here, down on the ground. What are the chances that it's like one that way and then two coming this way laid across?
Yeah, I don't know.
And on either side are snapped off, and like, what do you think that's like?
There's another break.
8 feet up, maybe 12 feet up?
I'm 5'9". I'm 5'9". What do you think?
That's easily 12.
Several were broken 8 to 12 feet up, arranged like signals, one pointing left, another pointing right, and 2 logs laid across each other in an X. Dwayne explained that these formations show up everywhere the creatures cross into camp. It was here that the group recounted a terrifying moment from earlier in the week. 2 loud roars, each closer than the last, that pushed them out of the area. "We felt it in our chests," one said. That second roar was a warning. Later, they reached a baiting site where Chad had left apples, an orange, and a banana. The apples remained untouched. The orange had fallen to the ground. But the banana was peeled cleanly, eaten, and its peel placed aside. No claw rips, no scattered debris, just a peeled fruit, something no bear could do.
All right, so
The apples are gone.
yeah, so I'm
No,
gonna.
there's one.
Okay, so it's on the ground. So, don't what?
It's a banana.
Oh, okay. So this is where. So Chad set these out, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Chad
so
and Ronnie put these out.
Chad and Ronnie set these out. Next day we have the orange still there.
That orange is on the ground, but the
Got
banana's
an
been
orange
ate.
there. We've got a banana that has been peeled or eaten.
And they left the oranges and the apple alone. Not only that, it broke the stick off.
Don't.
Even more unsettling, the branch the apple had hung from was snapped off deliberately, yet the apple itself remained untouched. To Dwayne and Ronnie, the meaning was clear. They wanted the banana. Around the same spot, they discovered another wide footprint in the soil, likely belonging to the same large individual.
Yeah, but they don't leave peelings.
Well, why is it peeled?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I've never seen one peeled.
Oh yes. Oh my goodness.
I've never seen one peeled.
They left the apple. All they did was break the branch on the tree where it was stuck on and left the apple and peeled the banana.
You think that's a sign?
I don't know. So whoever says they don't like bananas are probably wrong.
Yeah.
As evening came, Ronnie began to play guitar. Music had stirred activity before, and again, from across the ridge came a faint roar, then another, this one sharper, almost a scream. The group froze. The sound was distant, yet powerful enough to vibrate the air between the trees.
Yeah.
Be natural,
We'll be cool.
yourself,
We'll be cool.
be genuine, be silly or whatever, and let them deal with
I have
it.
an idea. You play the song, and when we're done, we'll figure out what we're doing.
Good idea.
Okay, yeah, because go with the flow. Just with it. Do your own thing. Don't stop. Don't stop because they're doing something.
Then why'd you stop playing the song? Because they were doing
Because you guys are talking.
No.
She's
Got to have
scary.
a reason
He tells people I'm
to live or to pass away. There's a time, there's a season.
By night's end, they agreed on one thing. These mountains weren't just active, they were inhabited. And whoever was out there had been watching them long before they arrived. The YouTube channel. The half-inch wrench crew headed into the forests of Washington with one goal: document real signs of Sasquatch activity. They set out expecting a routine road trip. What followed became one of their most disturbing investigations. The evidence surfaced almost immediately. On a sloped dirt bank, they found impressions that ruled out people, wildlife, and coincidence. The placement was deliberate. The depth was wrong. And whatever made them didn't hesitate. The crew spotted what looked like a bare footprint and a handprint pressed into the side of the hill. The ground around it showed no signs of human activity. It immediately set the tone. Whatever left that mark wasn't small.
There's footprints on the side of that. There is. Hang on, I gotta turn this down.
No way.
Oh, wrong way.
That's a damn footprint. That's and a handprint.
Look how what?
Coming down. It's coming down the hill. how big it is.
You can't see it on here. I gotta.
As the investigation continued, the evidence began to repeat itself. Oversized tracks appeared along disturbed ground. Impressions pressed so flat they didn't behave like normal footprints. Some were so large that stepping into them felt instinctively wrong. Nearby, they found clusters of bones. Birds and small animals placed along a single trail. The remains were fresh, but the pattern didn't match any known predator behavior. They assumed the bunker was empty. It wasn't. The moment one team member stepped inside with night vision active, a low, human-like sound came from the darkness.
But we did not go to sleep.
No,
Because these noises started happening.
They were howling, man. They were howling loud. Like, it was loud howls. And they were just, I mean, they sounded like they were just maybe 100 yards up in the woods. And then you'd hear one up the other hill, like, and they were all around us. I had my hog set up with me.
Yeah.
So I had my 6.5 Grendel and my thermal scope.
He froze. Then he heard it again. A slow, deliberate whisper, close enough to feel intentional. He bolted out seconds later, shaking, and refused to re-enter. Whatever made that sound knew he was there.
Go in there. What is it?
We don't know.
I think it's a bunker.
Locals later confirmed similar encounters. A woman hiking in Montana described seeing a dark, naked, human-shaped figure run across her path in silence. Another group camping in Oklahoma recalled a night surrounded by powerful howls, close enough to feel through the truck bed. Different states, different stories, but the same description of a tall, fast, silent figure moving where no person should be. The crew also met forestry professionals who had recently investigated massive nest-like structures high in the Washington mountains. Built like giant beaver dams, only miles from any water source, they contained hair samples that didn't match the local wildlife database.
So he's always talking to people, and you hear a lot of Sasquatch sightings, especially him. So we're going to take the Bronco up a mountain over here. The expedition won't make it, but this has got rear diff lock, front diff lock. It's got crawler mode. This is going to get us up there just fine. So we're going up there because someone reported to him at the restaurant that there was some whooping and wood knocks. It has just like happened like here in the last week or so. So we're going to go up there and do some scouting around.
By the end of the trip, the crew hadn't filmed Sasquatch directly, but they did capture footprints, bone clusters, unexplained sounds, and a growing realization shared by everyone who's walked these mountains. Something is out here, and it lets you find only what it wants you to see. On Cabin in the Woods, every journey into the wild begins with a question. How well do we really know the places we think are empty? A team of researchers spent days deep in the Canadian forests searching for Sasquatch, expecting little more than empty trails and false alarms. Instead, they found dozens of tree breaks and strange wooden structures, too deliberate to be natural, yet impossible to attribute to humans. Wood knocks echoed through the mountains, and massive footprints, complete with distinct toe impressions, appeared. Something was out there, watching.
Dozens and dozens of tree breaks and tree structures that clearly weren't natural, and yet obviously couldn't have been done by a human either.
It looks like it's an intentionally created structure.
Wood knocks echoing through the mountains.
What did you hear exactly?
It was like 2 tree knocks.
Multiple massive footprints.
I don't think I'm imagining things. Are you seeing what looks like a big toe impression here?
You can feel it. Stick our hand in there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely lower.
No question.
The calls came suddenly, almost out of nowhere. 3 women claimed they had seen him, the same creature from Jake's footage, on the very stretch of highway he had filmed. That road cut straight through the heart of Sasquatch territory. Every detail they shared matched the patterns he knew, and a chill ran down his spine as he realized the forest wasn't empty. Not by a long shot. By the time the team reached base camp, the air felt heavier, charged. Gear clattered as it was unloaded, and Todd handed Jake a piece of equipment with a grave nod. Somewhere out there in the shadows of the trees lining the highway, something was watching, waiting, and not far from where they were standing.
I had these 3 ladies that had a story about Sasquatch on this exact highway, and this highway is my Sasquatch's domain. They live in this part of the Kootenays. So it was actually the part of the highway they stopped on is 100% my Sasquatch's habitat. So these ladies called me and they said, that Sasquatch that you have footage of, we've seen him.
So we made it to base camp. The guys are unloading, and Todd is entrusting me with a little bit of insurance here. Thank you, sir.
So that's loaded for bear.
When the team returned, they noticed something new. A tree break that hadn't been there before, now lying on the ground, decaying but clearly placed. It was old evidence of a Sasquatch presence, yet it spoke of deliberate action. Closer inspection revealed breaks snapped while the wood was still strong, not rotten, each one marked by force. One by one, more snapped trees appeared, scattered across the area, each telling the same silent story. The forest felt alive, as if something powerful was still watching, testing anyone who dared enter its domain.
But this wasn't here last 10 days ago when I was here last. That's new. And you can see that's been on the ground decaying. So somebody picked that up and put that there. So that's a Sasquatch tree break, but that's 8 years old. And that was another day where we had a sighting and stuff was going on.
Well, this was clearly broken. Even though it's an old one, you can tell it's been snapped. Like when it was broken, the wood was healthy. This wasn't rot. You can tell that was broken under tension.
And there's another one here.
The scene had changed since their last visit. Moss was creeping back over the old breaks, softening edges that had once been crisp and fresh. A bent living tree stretched upward, still holding green foliage, standing like a silent witness above the older, fallen trees. Among them, tracks appeared, some sharp, others fading with time. Each impression hinted at movement too deliberate to be natural, leaving the team unsettled as they tried to piece together what had passed throughout this shadowed stretch of forest.
Before, eh?
Mm-hmm. Like this is the moss growing back down. So it was toes across nicer. Everything looks weird.
See what
now.
the LiDAR shows.
This bent living tree up there, that one's alive. It still has foliage on the top end.
Yep.
And it's underneath these older pushed over trees here.
There's a track. This is another track over here. That one's kind of not so clear anymore.
What made the incident so unsettling was its certainty. Late in the night, with no clear sense of time, the trailer began to shake. Not subtly, but with a force that demanded attention. It happened only once, yet the impact was unmistakable. By morning, each man compared notes. None had moved. None had approached the trailers. Todd was certain it wasn't him. Rick confirmed the same. 3 men in separate trailers all experienced the same violent jolt at the same moment. With no other explanation, one conclusion lingered in the air. Something powerful had come to them in the dark.
Definitively, the trailer shook. I didn't have any idea what time it was. I know it was very late at night. And it was a definite, profound shaking. I only had it happen once. And so I'm going to leave this to you, Robert. I'm going to tell you something. There's no doubt in my mind. If that wasn't you, then a Sasquatch shook the trailer.
It wasn't me moving. I'm absolutely certain about that. Todd's absolutely certain it wasn't him. And over in Rick's trailer, he's certain that it wasn't him. Doesn't seem to have been anyone else. 2 trailers shaking, experienced and recollected by 3 men at the same time last night.
Something tore through the underbrush, too fast to track at first. Branches cracked sharply as it darted between the trees, moving with an eerie, deliberate rhythm. The shape seemed to rise above the forest floor, its movement unmistakably upright. For a heartbeat, it paused in the shadows, then vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving only broken branches and a sudden, chilling silence.
There's something moving and running over there. I just saw something moving and running over there. It was breaking branches, moving really quick. It just ran across through the trees. It was bipedal.
Out of the corner of his eye, something massive and dark shot across the clearing, weaving through the trees with impossible speed. It was close, no more than 80 yards away, but it disappeared before he could bring the lens up. The movement was upright, purposeful, and unlike any animal he knew, it vanished into the shadows, leaving only the memory of something swift, powerful, and undeniably alive.
I saw something big and brown streak across my field of vision through the trees, maybe 100 yards that way, probably less than 100 actually, maybe 80 yards that way. I didn't have a chance to get the lens on and film it. It happened so fast, but it looked bipedal to me. It didn't look like an elk or a bear, and it was just streaking. It was moving so incredibly quickly.
What they experienced was undeniable. The violent shaking of the trailers in the depths of the night was not imagined, staged, or misunderstood. It was real. Each moment of the expedition stood on its own, unmanufactured and unexplained. Others could draw their own conclusions, but for him, the truth was already set in stone. This journey was not an ending, it was the first step. Whatever lived beyond the edge of certainty had revealed itself.
Our trailers being shaken in the dead of night, that was real. You're free, of course, to form your own conclusions about what I've shared here, but I know for a fact that none of this was hoaxed and all of it happened. And another thing I know is that for me, this expedition was just the beginning. I'm not going to stop digging until I found and understood the whole truth about these beings.
And he was determined to continue searching until the full story could no longer remain hidden. If this was only the beginning, what happens when the search finally gets too close to the truth? On the remote ridges and winding waterways of the West, the Western Bigfoot expedition searches where wildlife roams and footprints appear. Each trek is guided by whispers of history, signs of movement, and the rhythms of the forest. Some areas hint at Sasquatch, others guard their secrets, but every step draws the team closer to the unknown. While driving along a secluded forest road, the team's eyes caught a subtle disturbance among the undergrowth, broken branches and scattered debris that seemed almost deliberate.
So we're just driving down this road here, and happened to look out the window, and I just kind of noticed this. Now there's some deadfall here. We're gonna look at this break right here, and now it's funny. Well, there's human activity because there's a can of Coors Banquet. Wow. But this looks old.
Yeah, this got broken over a long time ago.
Little things like this, you know. Last time we focused on some tree breaks like that, we pulled Sasquatch hair out of it.
At first glance, it could have been human, but closer inspection hinted at something far older, something the wilderness itself seemed to guard. In past expeditions, similar signs had revealed strands of strange, unexplainable hair, appearing wherever footprints, sightings, or manipulated branches suggested the presence of an unknown creature. Across North America, these silent traces continue to challenge what is known, drawing the explorers deeper into the forest's hidden mysteries. Jonathan Brown, a seasoned tracker and longtime explorer of the Pacific Northwest, shares his thoughts on Sasquatch in Western Washington. He believes they don't need to move as much as their eastern counterparts, where harsh winters and shifting game force constant travel.
It's older, but it's in a straight line. It's got a good breadth. Prints are big.
A couple of them look a bit interesting, but they also look a little old. Just like the Go Road all over again.
Just about.
Look at that.
See, so there's this one. What's interesting about this is that the needles are pressed into the dirt.
Correct.
You can almost maybe see a toe-ish action here, but you got this. Like
look, it looks almost like a step, and maybe you have this. See how this is pushed up like a ridge?
Out here on the west side, it's more temperate, more food around. Almost like the coastal tribes long ago. They didn't need to wander far. In the eastern mountains, the harsher winters and wandering herds likely push Sasquatch to cover vast distances, constantly on the move. On the milder western side, travel isn't as urgent, though during the warmer months they may shift between higher and lower terrain, following the land's subtle patterns while staying largely within familiar territory. He turned the camera, and something in the edge of the trees caught his eye. Through the thermal scope, a shadowy form moved low, almost gliding along the forest floor, blending with leaves and broken branches. Then it shifted in a way that made no sense.
Thermal technology was pretty primitive, but I'll walk you through the sighting. Flip the camera around. So he walked up here and he began to take a leak. Camp is behind me. Now he turned and he looked over here, and in those trees there, through his thermal imager, he saw a figure standing. And from what he describes, it went down kind of on its stomach. It started doing like a swimming motion on the ground, almost like if it's trying to bury itself in the debris around it. Then it almost did like this strange yoga pose looking thing. One thing that he noticed:
arching, twisting, almost like a creature stretching into an unnatural pose. A massive hand rose, fingers splayed, reaching skyward in a gesture both eerie and inexplicable, leaving him frozen in disbelief at what the night had revealed.
Was that it put its hand up. He can see all 5 fingers, his big hand, almost like it was reaching up for like a high five off the ground, and he couldn't figure out what that was, and it took him a long time, and he figured out finally that it was blocking the ambient light from a campfire that was behind him. So the Sasquatch was on the ground with its hand up, blocking the ambient light so he can get a better look at him. And he was trying to call people back in camp.
Missy Martinson, a longtime Bigfoot researcher and seasoned wilderness explorer, recalls a quiet evening at camp with Rachel, her daughter, Lydia, riding her bike while music played softly. Suddenly, Tristan asked if they'd heard a knock. Behind the tent, a rustling moved through the brush, alive yet unseen, turning the calm night tense and charged.
In camp catching up, Lydia, Nick's daughter, was riding her bike around camp, and we were listening to Disney music. So, like, kind of typical kid playing, just quiet night at camp. We weren't planning anything. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Tristan came over and said, "Did you guys just hear that wood knock?" And we said, "No, we've been talking and, the music's playing." At about 8:15, behind John Ray's tent on the north end, we could hear noise. It wasn't movement, just noise, like something rummaging around or something. But it was loud. About 8:30, same thing happened again.
As daylight faded into twilight, a figure emerged from beside their tent. It took a couple of deliberate steps before slipping into the shadows of the woods toward the road.
Everything starts to look grainy in the woods, especially. Just your eyes are switching from day to night, and I see a figure come out from next to John Ray's tent, took 2 steps, went into the woods towards the road, and that was it. But the thing was, it was solid black against the twilight night. Its arms were super exaggerated. It was probably about 6 foot tall. It wasn't huge.
Against the dimming sky, it was pitch black, its elongated arms strikingly unnatural. Standing around 6 feet, it wasn't massive, but its presence was enough to freeze the onlookers, leaving them staring in disbelief.
And we all kind of were like, "Well, that's weird. You heard a knock over here, and now we're hearing something weird coming from around John Ray's tent." So I walked over. John was in his tent, and I said, "Have you heard anything from around your tent?" And he said, "No, I haven't heard anything. My ears are bad." And I was like, "Okay." So I went back to where we were all sitting, and we were just talking. It's twilight, and at that,
silently asking themselves what they had just seen. The footprints pressed into the soil with striking detail.
Of the same size, like look at that one right there, Look like a foot?
Yeah.
So this one looks like a foot as well. We're gonna cast up to like here, just get the full, what looks like the depth. What I like about it, there's a stick here in the toes. And the toes kind of, go around it. I feel like if it was ungulate, it would have just stepped down and really mashed that stick down a lot deeper. Now there's a lot of small top debris.
Heels angled, toes splayed, curving around a stick left in the ground.
debris and be really careful to not disturb the information that's under it. Mix I made, I totally messed up on the first one, so. I'm gonna make more. Okay. Real quick, hold on.
The direction of the trail.
All right, we're gonna try to extract this. I don't have a shovel, so I'm doing this in a non-conventional way.
Some impressions were faint, others clear, but together they trace the passage of something deliberate, leaving the forest quietly marked. The Travel Channel ventured deep into the wilderness where curiosity meets the unknown. Viewers watched as the team asked the crowd a simple yet chilling question. Had anyone ever encountered a Sasquatch? Slowly, hands began to rise, a silent acknowledgement that something mysterious was out there, something that had left its mark on more than just the forest.
So satisfy our curiosity, please. If you think you have encountered a Sasquatch at some point, please put your hands nice and high in the air.
Camille Delorme went out fishing, the quiet of the woods pressing in from every side. She knew the area was alive with deer, and maybe something far stranger. Her eyes drifted across the tree line, scanning for movement, when she suddenly froze. Two figures emerged, one tall, standing perfectly still beside a massive willow bush, the other lurking just behind it, parting the branches as if studying her. A shiver ran down her spine as the realization sank in. They weren't deer. The forest seemed to hold its breath, every rustle amplified in the heavy silence. Camille couldn't tear her eyes away, trapped by the gaze of something she couldn't explain.
My name is Camille Delorme. We were fishing. I knew that there were a lot of deer and elk, and I was kind of scanning the tree line looking. There were two. There was a tall one standing next to a big willow bush, and the other one was right next to it, and it had the bush parted. It was like this.
Dion Kroom never expected his routine drive to turn into something unforgettable. As he cruised down the highway on the way out hunting, a figure appeared at the edge of the road. Something completely out of place. The moment it noticed the vehicle, it moved with impossible speed, clearing the road in just 3 steps. Shocked, Dion turned to his brother asking if they had seen it too. Both nodded, eyes wide, barely able to speak. For a heartbeat, the world seemed frozen, as if whatever had appeared had slipped back into the shadows, but left a memory that refused to fade.
My name is Dion Kroom. Was on our way out hunting, driving down the highway. And you could just see something standing out of the ordinary. Once it noticed us, he clears the road in 3 steps. Told my brother and my wife, "Did you guys see that?" And they're like, "Yeah."
Candy Usazero had barely set foot on the south end of the marsh when the night seemed to shift around her. Strange, eerie noises pierced the stillness, sending a chill down her spine. She and her friend were out elk hunting when she suddenly told her son to turn on the spotlight, and that's when it appeared, a massive figure looming behind a tree. Her body shook uncontrollably. Even now, the memory still terrifies her. Whatever it was had emerged from the shadows, a chilling reminder that some things in the dark are not meant to be seen.
Hello, my name's Candy Usazero. My oldest son, we went out elk hunting out here on the south end of the marsh. Kept hearing this weird noise. Told my son, turn on the spotlight. I could see this huge figure behind a tree. And I was shaking. I'm shaking right now because it scared the out of me.
Whispers of Yamzy Mountain kept surfacing at the town hall meeting. The sacred mountain on the reservation was a place no one dared to enter. Rumors of strange, unexplainable occurrences kept people away. But for the team, the more mysterious, the better. Before speaking to a single witness, they decided to head straight into the heart of it, bigfooting on Yamzy Mountain, determined to uncover whatever secrets the shadows were hiding.
One name came up over and over again at town hall meeting, and that is Yamzy Mountain. It's a sacred mountain on the reservation where no one goes. You're not supposed to go there because weird things happen there. Well, we're all about the weird, and we are here to Bigfoot. So before we speak to any witnesses at all, we are going to go Bigfooting tonight at Yamzy Mountain to see what we can discover.
The trail stretched out perfectly before them, a strange blend of habitats teeming with hidden life. Then came the sound. a sharp knock, sudden and deliberate. At first, it seemed like a branch snapping, but the forest felt alive. A second movement followed, subtle yet deliberate, just beyond sight, as if something or someone was tracking their every step.
This is such perfect terrain.
Nice mixture of habitats. Did you hear that,
Whoa,
Bobs?
is that a branch falling or just I only heard one knock.
It sounded like a branch breaking.
The team crept through the forest, eyes scanning the ground and shadows alike. Something's been watching across here. Deep tracks marked the earth, sharp and deliberate, visible to anyone with a headlamp. Elk and mule deer crisscrossed the trail, an ungulate highway, but no human footprints anywhere. The absence of people felt wrong, almost deliberate, and a shiver ran down their spines. Every crack of a branch and rustle of leaves made them jump, as if the forest itself was alive, waiting. After all these encounters, figures in the shadows, impossible movements, and tracks that lead nowhere, the question remains, what really walks these forests when no one is looking? Could it be a creature we've never fully understood, or something far stranger, hiding just beyond the edge of our perception?
No way. That.
The voice behind the men's life is no stranger to the call of the unknown. Through his journeys, Mende navigates dense forests and remote terrain, seeking moments that test both courage and curiosity. Driven by a passion for discovery and the thrill of the wild, he immerses viewers in stories of unexpected encounters and raw, untamed nature. But on this particular outing, what began as a routine exploration quickly proved that even the most seasoned adventurer can be caught off guard when the wilderness decides to show its teeth.
Right now we're getting the adventure started. It already started off with seeing a bear, and that was behind that way. So yeah, that's fun. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be probably scary, but we're gonna see what happens. So if you guys are in for the ride, if you guys are down for it.
He paused, every sense on high alert. From the shadows came a low, menacing growl, deep, primal, unmistakably a bear. The hairs on his neck stood on end. Something was out there, moving just beyond sight, and it wasn't alone. The forest had suddenly become alive with a presence he couldn't ignore.
Okay, I thought I just heard like a legit bear growl or whatever the hell they make. Just a rah. Someone's out there. She heard it too.
The forest seemed to close in with every step, shadows shifting and whispering. Doubt crept in. Was this really a good idea? The tension was palpable, each sound magnified in the quiet night. In that moment, the thrill of the unknown collided with the creeping sense that maybe some paths aren't meant to be walked alone.
Whoa! She hears it. She hears that. Oh. Key, what was that? Okay, y'all, it's starting right now. As soon as the sun set. Started.
He whispered to his dog, trying to stay calm, though the forest seemed alive with every sound. Then it happened. Rocks shifted just ahead, evidence of something massive moving through. His heart raced. Could the woods really be hiding giants? Creatures bigger than anything he had imagined.
Right there. That's rocks. Oh my God. Are there gigantopithecus here as well? Damn.
His eyes locked on a tree split in two, its jagged trunk standing out in the shadows for no clear reason. A chill ran through him, the forest suddenly feeling heavier, more alive, Then came it, a faint whoop echoing from somewhere unseen, reminding him just how unpredictable the night could be.
Look at that, right there. Broken tree. No reason whatsoever. Guys, I'm like terrified right now. Thought I just heard a whooping.
Something stirred ahead, low in the shadows, and the forest seemed to tighten around him. Pulse pounding, he whispered into the stillness, hoping whatever watched him understood he wasn't a threat. Every rustle, every shadow hinted at a presence both massive and unknown, something that made the night feel alive in a way he hadn't expected.
Oh, oh, sh! Whoa! Whoa! Kia, what the? There's no way. Kia. Oh, Kia, whoa. Whoa. Guys, there's something right ahead of us. And down there.
A strange tension gripped him, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Eyes seemed to track his every movement from the shadows. Breaking the silence, he whispered into the quiet morning air, almost to himself, "Bigfoot."
Feel eyes on me from this way. Hello? Good morning. Bigfoot?
A sudden movement caught his eye, impossible to ignore. Something had left a strange offering on the hood. Wood chips scattered across the cracks, a massive stick or small log placed deliberately. He stared in disbelief, murmuring under his breath, unsure if it was Bigfoot or something even larger lurking just out of sight.
There's no way. Oh, and on the hood. What the? Yo, something just left this for me. It's like wood chips all up in the cracks. Yo, something just left this for me. I think this was my offering. A huge stick.
This next one comes from the YouTube channel NVTV, and what makes it interesting isn't big reactions or anything extreme, it's just the way everything slowly starts to feel a little different. It starts at night near a parked vehicle, and at first it feels like just a normal recording. Then something shifts and breaks that calm feeling. The person filming suddenly sounds confused, like something happened that he didn't see coming. You can hear it in his voice while he tries to make sense of what's around him. He slowly moves the camera through the dark, focusing on one spot ahead, trying to figure out what he's actually looking at.
Camera shut off. It just shut off. And there's the ball again. Look, there's only one, dude. There's only one left. No, there's two. I'm sorry. There's two. Okay. That's my way out. That's my way out. Okay. What is that? Do you see it? It's redder than red, and it's...
I won't describe what appears on screen because this is one of those clips where the reveal works better if you notice it yourself. Just pay attention to how his tone changes. He keeps asking questions out loud, almost like he needs someone else to confirm what he's seeing. There's a moment where he steps back toward his vehicle, and you can hear that he's no longer comfortable standing there.
Dogs around my car. And here's one, like scratches, but maybe don't know. It's dirty, I gotta get it washed, but I don't know where to even start looking, dude. Oh my god. Alright, guys. I'm gonna pack up and...
Later on, the footage shifts to an evening walk in the woods with a father and his son. At first, they're just walking and chatting like anyone out exploring a trail. After a bit, their pace starts to slow, and they keep glancing off to one side, almost like something down the slope quietly grabbed their attention. They don't rush, they don't overreact, they just become more careful with each step.
Me and my son are getting the strange feeling like we shouldn't go any more past that log and that bowed tree. There seems to be something walking down to our right, down in that valley. There's multiple tree breaks everywhere, as you can see. And I am gonna heed everybody's advice. Get out of here. There's eye shine down there.
When a reflection appears deeper in the brush, they try to hold their light steady and focus on that exact spot. The father points things out quietly, guiding his son's attention, and you can hear that he wants to be sure before saying anything certain. As they continue along the trail, they start noticing objects placed high up in trees nearby. Instead of jumping to conclusions, they examine them closely and talk through what might explain it.
Okay, my son picked out the trash up in the tree. Don is reaching up and he still has another 3-4 foot to reach to it. Let me roll in here. Yeah, I would say that's about what? 10 to 12? 10 to 12 foot up. Looks like a beer can and it's wedged into a branch. It's stabbed with a branch. Let me pan in so you can see this. There, you'll probably see better there.
And I told Tony I once found 5 of those in a row.
Wow.
And we found the second one that we're going to show you next.
That's what makes this one worth watching. The reactions feel real. The pacing feels natural. So as you watch, focus on how they respond more than what they claim. Then tell me, what do you think is really going on there? And as the last footsteps fade back into the trees, one unsettling thought remains. These encounters didn't happen in stories, they happened to real people. So the next time the forest goes quiet around you, ask yourself, are you truly alone, or has something decided to watch you from the darkness?